At 07:38 local time over the Persian Gulf, two U.S. Navy FA-18 Super Hornets were flying a routine combat air patrol 50 miles southwest of Bandar Abbas. The pilots, call signs Viper 1 and Viper 2, had done this run dozens of times. Clear skies, moderate sea state, nothing unusual on the radar. But something was different this morning. 15 miles below them, a rusting cargo ship sat anchored just outside Iranian territorial waters. No military markings, no weapons visible from altitude. To any satellite pass or casual observer, it looked like a forgotten freighter waiting for a berth. It wasn't. Below that weathered deck, hidden inside modified shipping containers, dozens of Shahid 136 loitering munitions were being armed, fueled, and pointed directly at a U.S. carrier strike group sitting 40 miles to the south. The trap was already set. The pilots just didn't know it yet. The ship was the IRIS Shahid Bagheri, and Iran had spent 2 years turning it into something the world had never seen before. A drone carrier disguised as civilian cargo. Think about what that means for a second. No catapults, no fighter jets, no radar arrays that light up every NATO receiver in the region. Just containers. Ordinary-looking containers that could launch a swarm of one-way attack drones in under 4 minutes. The Iranians had studied every weakness in U.S. naval defense doctrine and built a weapon specifically designed around those gaps. Each Shahid 136 cost roughly $20,000. The missiles defending the carrier strike group cost over $1 million each. Iran didn't need to sink the carrier. They just needed to fire enough drones to drain the magazine. It was a dollar store trying to bankrupt Costco, and the math, terrifyingly, was starting to work in Iran's favor.
At 0741, Viper 1's radar warning receiver chirped. Then again. Then it screamed. His electronic warfare suite was picking up rapid electromagnetic signatures from the surface, not from a warship, not from a known SAM battery, but from that cargo ship. Within seconds, the E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft orbiting 60 miles north confirmed what no one wanted to hear. 14, then 22, then 31 Shahed drones were airborne and climbing, forming a loose swarm heading south-southwest at 200 knots. Simultaneously, intelligence feeds flagged 2 C-802 anti-ship cruise missiles warming up on the Bagheri's stern deck, weapons capable of hitting a destroyer at 100 kilometers with enough punch to break its keel. Viper 1 had 2 threats, 2 very different solutions, and exactly the wrong amount of fuel to handle both. He keyed his radio and said 4 words that told the entire strike group everything it needed to know. Viper 1, weapons free.
The drone swarm was the first problem, and it was uglier than it looked on radar. 31 Shaheds don't fly in a neat formation you can pick apart methodically. They spread. They drift, they fly low enough to blend into sea clutter, and their small radar cross-section makes them look like birds on a bad display. Viper 2 rolled in first, firing an AIM-9X Sidewinder at the lead drone. Clean kill. Then a second. But here's what the textbooks don't tell you. Thermal lock becomes unreliable when you're targeting a low-heat piston engine the size of a lawnmower motor against a warm ocean surface. The missile's seeker smears the signature. Pilots call it a thermal smudge. Viper 2's third shot missed clean. 2 attempts, no kill, 1 Sidewinder gone. And the swarm kept coming, indifferent, patient, and completely expendable. Every drone that survived was another dollar store missile quietly doing its math. While Viper 2 worked the swarm, Viper 1 had a harder decision to make. The 2 C-802 anti-ship cruise missiles on the Bagheri's stern were still on their launchers, but the window to kill them on the deck was closing fast. Once those missiles went hot and separated from the ship, intercepting them became a completely different problem. A moving supersonic sea skimmer at wave-top altitude with an active radar seeker in a cluttered maritime environment, that's not a fighter pilot's fight. That's a coin toss. So Viper 1 pushed the nose down and descended toward the ship.
but every foot below 18,000 feet put him deeper inside the Merab Point Defense SAM envelope protecting the Bagheri, and nobody had briefed that the ship was carrying Merab systems. That intelligence gap, that single missing line in a pre-mission report, suddenly meant the most dangerous thing in the sky wasn't the drones or the cruise missiles. It was the ground truth Viper 1 was flying directly into.
At 12,000 feet, the Zu-23 anti-aircraft guns on the Bagheri's deck opened up, twin-barreled, radar-guided, firing 23mm rounds at a rate that fills the air with steel faster than most pilots ever trained for. Viper 1 broke hard right, dispensing flares and chaff simultaneously, his jet groaning through 8 Gs as he yanked the aircraft away from the tracer streams climbing toward him. On the ship below, the Iranian crew wasn't panicking. They were executing a plan. The drones were never meant to sink the carrier alone. The C-802s were never meant to fire alone. Everything, the swarm, the AA guns, the SAMs, the cruise missiles, was one layered system designed to force American pilots into impossible choices at exactly the wrong altitude, at exactly the wrong fuel state, at exactly the wrong moment. Iran had built not just a weapon, they had built a decision trap, and right now, Viper 1 was caught inside it.
What happened next is the part military analysts still argue about in closed briefings. Viper 1, now low on fuel and inside a threat envelope he wasn't supposed to be in, didn't retreat. He climbed, but not away from the ship. He climbed to exactly 19,000 feet, just above the Merab's effective ceiling, and ripple-fired 2 AGM-158C LRASMs in a timed sequence. The long-range anti-ship missile isn't a dumb weapon. It thinks. It navigates around threats, selects its own aim point, and hits with enough penetrating force to tear through reinforced deck plating. The first LRASM went through the Bagheri's forward container bay, straight into the drone launch infrastructure. The second hit the stern, precisely between the 2 C-802 launchers, detonating both missiles on the deck before either could separate. Bandar Abbas Harbor lit up like a second sunrise. The swarm lost its command architecture and began falling into the Gulf in pieces. 31 drones, 2 cruise missiles, 1 ship, 2 jets, and a decision made in 4 seconds that changed the entire engagement. When Viper 1 and Viper 2 landed back on the carrier, the mission clock read 47 minutes. In less than an hour, 2 jets had dismantled a weapons system Iran had spent 2 years and hundreds of millions of dollars building. But here's the thought that should keep you up at night. The Shahid Bagheri was 1 ship. Intelligence reports suggest Iran has the infrastructure to convert at least 6 more cargo vessels using the same template. The drone economics haven't changed. $20,000 against a $1 million interceptor missile is still a losing equation for the defender, no matter how good the pilot is. America won this engagement, but Iran learned from it. Every missed Sidewinder shot, every altitude mistake, every intelligence gap, it all went into a file somewhere in Tehran. The most dangerous enemy isn't the one you defeat. It's the one who studies the defeat, takes notes, and comes back with a better version of the same trap. The Gulf is quieter today, but the next ship is already being converted.